Good evening, everyone. It's 19 hours. We can start our class. I hope everyone is able to hear me loud and clear. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name's Mambo Musute, and I shall be taking you uh, in this training that we're having today, where we'll look at 5 useful Excel functions. So, some of you have attended the previous lesson, so you know the modus operandi. But for those who didn't attend, I shall still explain. So, all mics are muted by the host, and you cannot unmute yourself. Reason being is that we don't want people to accidentally unmute themselves because that could cause disturbance to the class. This is why you're unable to unmute yourself. But if need be that it's required of you to unmute yourself, the functions can always be changed to allow you to unmute yourself. In case you have any question that you'd like to ask while the presentation is going on or during the question and answer session, we have a chat area where you can type your message. So feel free to utilize that at any point, even while we are in the middle of class. If you've got a question, you can type a question and I'll take pauses to look at questions typed in the chat area and answer them. So after every function, I shall pause to answer questions, then we can move on to the next function. So basically, that is how we are going to uh, go about this class. So, what are we looking at today? Today, we are looking at 5 useful Excel functions. And what are these Excel functions? So, we're going to look at GoSeek to try to understand what GoSeek is. We'll look at text functions, we'll look at if functions, we'll look at Vlookup, and we'll look at pivot tables. Now, I realized that when we're checking the responses that people gave, it was established that many people actually have never used GoSeek. So it seemed to be strange to the majority. Not to worry, GoSeek will actually be one of the easiest things we're going to look at. It's easy to understand, and it's a useful tool that may come in handy at one point or another, whether in your career or in your personal life or whatever you're doing, provided you're using Excel to make your life easy. So without much ado, let's dive into those functions and see how they work. Uh, Class has to end by 2030, so we'll try by all means to stick to time, but that should not be a limitation to ask questions. So whenever you've got a question, feel free to ask and we shall endeavor to answer everyone because at the end of the day, we want everyone to understand. Our motto is no man left behind. Someone says your screen has stopped sharing. Yes, it has stopped sharing because I want to share my Excel screen. So I shall be sharing the next screen shortly. So for those that attended last class, they know our motto, and that's simply no one's left behind. So feel free to ask questions, and we'll try by all means to bring you up to speed so that we can all move at the same pace and all understand. So let me share the Excel sheet. Then we can start looking at our functions. Okay, so maybe someone to just confirm if you're able to see the screen. You can just type, then I shall check. Are you able to see the Excel sheet? This Excel sheet here, right here. Okay, Naomi says yes. Likando says yes. Okay, it means everyone is able to see. And Johnny says able to see. Okay, it means everyone is able to see. So we can go back and we can start. So we'll start with something which is more friendly than the other things we're going to look at today, which is simply, sorry, let me just confirm that everyone is checking. Okay, which is simply some text functions. Now, text functions they are covered in a broad range. There are a broad range of text functions. However, for the purpose of this course, we're just going to look at 3 text functions which are useful, which is the left, the right, and the mid. Don't worry, in a little while, I'll explain what those are. So we'll start with this example right here, which says receipts. I remember I also used this example in the previous class. So suppose you work for a company that maybe sells some products and has got branches in different places. So you've got branches in Kitwe, in Lusaka, in Monze, in Ndola, in Kabwe, and other places. So you use the same system for receipting all your clients nationwide. But because you want to be able to analyze data to know how your sales are going in each town, each receipt is unique because it starts with the code of the branch where the item was sold. So, for example, if I'm in Kitwe and I sell something, the receipt number for that item will be KTK, then the receipt number to show that it was done in Kitwe. Then, just like if I'm in Lusaka, I saw something in Lusaka, the receipt number will start with LSK and then the receipt number. Let me see if there's a question. There's a hand raised. Please, like I mentioned, if you've got any question, just type it in the box because when I switch screen, I'm unable to see uh, the hands that are raised. Then when we go back to the question and answer section, we'll be able to answer your question. So just type your question. Yeah. So as I was saying, so if I'm in Monze and I sell, the receipt number starts with MZE for Monze and the receipt number. So suppose we've got a bunch of receipts. However, for the purpose of understanding, I'll just stick to this shorter data set to help to enable you understand. So at the end of your month or whatever period that you're looking at, you decide you want to uh, check how each town is performing. So you want to see how many receipts were issued in Kitwe, how many receipts were issued in Lusaka, in Monze, and the like. So when you have data like this, it's easy for you to know by either sorting the data or using a counting formula like we learned last time, or there are various formulas that you can use to see how many are from Kitwe and how many are from Lusaka and oh. But today, that's not our concern. Today, our concern is that when we run the report from the system, it generates the receipt in one cell like this, KTK dash and the receipt number and so on and so forth. And for whatever reason, we say, okay, we don't want the receipt number. We just want the branch codes on their own in a different cell. So how can we separate the branch code, which is KTK or LSK, from this receipt number so that we can just have the branch codes for all of them? So if we're to do things manually, quite right, you just go writing here, you'd write KTK, you go to the next one, you write LSK, and so on and so forth. You will do that. But now imagine you've got a long list because your month was very busy and you've got very different departments and the products are high selling. And so you find you've sold over 10,000 things. You can't go on typing KTK, LSK for all the 10,000. So this is where some text functions come in handy, like left, right, and mid. What this, let me just write them down so that we can look at them, and mid. So what these three functions just mean is when you say left, you are just asking Excel to extract text from this cell, starting from the left, and you specify the number of characters you want it to extract. So for instance, I can see that all the branches are abbreviated using only 3 letters. So regardless of which branch it is, they only have 3 letters. So if I wanted to just get the branch alone, I would only need the first 3 letters of this receipt number and each and every receipt number. So to do that, you just type is equal to, you write the word left, you open your brackets. Now, which text or where do you want to get this? You click in the cell where you want to get the text, which is highlighted like that. So it says text. You put comma. After the comma, it asks now how many characters from the left should we give you? So all I want are the branch codes and everything has been abbreviated to 3 characters. So I'll just say comma 3 because I want 3 characters. I'll close my brackets and I'll say enter. And it has extracted only the first 3 characters from this receipt. And now with that, I can autofill all the way down and with a click of a button, I have all the branch codes alone from the text which is here. And now I can do whatever that I wish to do or for the purpose that I intended when separating them. That's what the left function does. The right function does the opposite of the left function. Remember here we were saying give me three characters starting from the left in this cell. The right function is opposite, says give me the certain number of characters that you choose starting from the right going this side. So if let's say now I have the branches and now I want the receipt numbers. So just by looking, I can see all receipt numbers have got 5 characters. All of them have 5 characters. So if I want to extract the numbers alone, I can use the right function to say is equal to, I type the word right, open my brackets. In this text, I'm telling it, give me this character starting from the right. You say comma, how many characters from the right should I give you? I want 5 because I want the number. And I close my brackets and I say enter. So you see it has extracted text starting from the right, counting 5 characters to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it has extracted. And I can fill this now to give me everything down here that I want. That's how left and right works. Mid works the same way. Mid is just if I want to extract text from the middle. Suppose there was text after KTK, as we shall see in the example next, and want to extract any mid information. So let's say I want to extract the dash alone. So you say is equal to, you write mid, you open your brackets. Where should I get this? You click your cell. Say I want mid from this text in this cell. Comma is asking what is the start number. So I start from which character? So if I wanted to get the dash, I know that KTK, that's 3 characters, the space, that's 4 characters. So, or if I want the space as well, I can say 4. So start from the fourth character, comma, how many characters from number 4 should I give you? I just want 2, because all I want is a dash. And I close my brackets and I say enter, and it has extracted the dash alone. And I can fill all these to give me the same text. So for mid, we shall understand it more when we look at this practical example to see how mid works. So basically, these are the text functions that we're looking at today and how they work. So before I go to this practical example, let me quickly check if there are any questions that are there, then we can address them, and then we can look at this example, which will give us more insight on how these work and maybe a real life application of where they would come in handy. Okay, so I see you never shared the notes from last class. Okay, that will be addressed later. Able to see, says I can't see. Okay, what if the branch codes have different lengths, e.g., LSK, then MNZ? Okay, good question. Are you able to zoom in a little? Is the recording of this going to be shared after? Okay, I shall zoom in just after this. Sorry about that, so that it's able to see, and we endeavor to share the recording. So starting from Chizuka's question to say, what if the branch codes have different lengths? Now, if they have different lengths, then you have to do a little bit more work there, because when you use this function, it's specific to a number of characters. So in the event that, let's say, maybe MZ Monze was, maybe we'll add an N like this, like here suggested, it will be a bit difficult to extract because it will leave out the E, because it will only extract the first 3. So unfortunately, it's not that flexible to tell it to say, nah, here do 4, here do 5, unless you're going row by row to say, here, like for instance, here I'll say 3, then maybe on MZE, I'll change the 3 and put 4 and go there one by one. But if I want to use the same formula to apply to everything, it's a bit fixed. The number of characters that you set in the same formula, that's the one you drag down. So if there are different characters, then they have to make a decision whether to maybe just get the first 3 or to do things manually. I hope that answers your question, Chizuka. So let me zoom in a bit. Let's see, is there any other question? Okay, so there's no other question. Okay, let's look at a practical example of this. Okay, so a practical example is once upon a time I had an opportunity to work for a certain company where we had different products, and we used to make payments, and we used to also have we also used to receipt payment. When we receive payments, would issue receipts, and when we make payments, would issue payment vouchers. So the way the system used to generate is it used to generate all transactions, payments, and receipts in this manner, where it would give you a whole bunch of numbers with delimitations by the stroke. So just to explain this data so that you can understand what we're extracting, the P or the R stands for R for receipt, P for payment. Just for us to see, every time you see P, you know this is a payment. Every time you see R, you know this was a receipt. The first three numbers after stroke 105. The first three numbers after the R stroke, it was the branch code. So we have different branches. So we know 001 maybe is Lusaka, 005 maybe is Livingstone, 002 maybe is Monze, and so on. That was the branch code. The next, I hope this is clear enough. The next set of numbers after the branch code /21, this was a product. So we had different products. So for example, if we used to sell cars as an example, so maybe all Toyotas would start with 2. So if it's 21, it's a Toyota something. Then maybe if maybe we're selling maybe Mazdas, maybe it would be a different code. 2023 was just the year in which that that receipt or payment was issued, and after that you'd have the actual receipt numbers. So this is how it used to give us the information every time we make a payment or a receipt. So this text function was useful in my job because there would be times when you want to analyze data and you want to sort your data according to a certain specification. So if I want to sort according to payment and receipts, it's very easy because you can use the sort function which we have here. You just say sort A to Z and it's going to sort. That was very easy. But suppose I want to sort according to branch. How was I going to do that? This is where this come in. So if I was going to sort this according to branch, we know that our branch is after P slash, the next three numbers represent the branch. So we would say is equal to left, comma, in this text, we say comma, number of characters. This is started from the left. Number of characters. So we would pick 5 because we have P is 1, the slash is 2, then we have the 3 for our branch. Like that. We'll close our brackets and we'll know that, okay, this payment was made from which branch. And if I drag this down, I'll know, okay, this receipt was made from which branch, this payment, this branch, and so on and so forth. So it's easy now to sort this by branch or by whatever I want to sort, or I'm able to see now, say maybe remove them if I want for payments only. The right function works in a similar manner. If all you want is the number, the receipt number, maybe you want to see why you ended in your sequence, you would do the same thing by just saying right. All our receipt numbers, by the way, were uniform. They were all 5 characters. So you'd say 5, you'd close, and you'd get only receipt numbers without having to look at now the branch code and the like. If I highlight, I'll get only receipt numbers. Now, this is where the mid function becomes of more value because sometimes you want to sort. Remember the first time when I used the left function, it gave me the P as well. So if I can only sort according to payments and receipts. But now with the mid function, I can ignore the payments or receipts and just sort according to branch or to product or to year. So let's say I want to sort according to branch. So I'll say is equal to mid. I would say in this text, it will ask me what's the start number. So I know that P and slash, those are 2 characters. I want to start from 3, comma. How many characters should it give me? I want it to give me 3 characters because all branches are 3 characters. And we say enter. And as you see, it will give me 101, extracting text on the middle of the text in this column. And I would highlight this, and now I would have branch code alone. And so if I sort this, let me just quickly sort this. If I go on sort and I say A to Z, continue current selection sort. So now it has sorted. Okay, sorry, let me just do that again. I did not highlight this. So now I want to sort according to branch number. So now it has sorted according to branches. So I have my 101 on top. I know, okay, these are from maybe Lusaka. I know maybe these are from a different branch and so on and so forth. And maybe there were amounts attached to it. I could now see, say, just by auto summing per branch, I would say, oh, okay, this branch sold this much and this branch sold that much. So basically, this is how the text function works. Easy to use and very friendly. So let me look at if there's any question before we move over to the next function. Can this recording be shared? I'm having challenges with network. Okay, we'll endeavor to have it shared. We'll endeavor to have it shared. Okay, there are no questions. So does that mean the text function is clear? I just need 2 people to type. I just need 2 people to type yes, and we'll proceed. Just two people to type yes, and I know it's clear, and we proceed to the next function. Okay, we have our two people. Chile say yes, well, yes. Thank you so much. So we shall move over to the next function. Our next function is gossip. Sorry, hold on. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. So our next function is goal seeking. Remember when I started my introduction, I mentioned that this was a function which was mostly selected as people having never used this function. So I hope from today onwards, after you learn it, it will be more useful to you. So what is goal seek? So goal seek, it falls under what if analysis. This is where it just helps you make decisions by giving you values, uh, quick computations of values that you're looking for if you don't know a value maybe to compute it by. I know that may sound confusing by explanation, but let's try to look at an example. So suppose I have a cell phone. Let me type this here. Let me zoom in so that people are able to see. Okay. Suppose I have a cell phone and I'm selling my cell phone. Maybe I'm selling my cell phone at 3,200 kwacha. And this is how much I want for my cell phone. And then as I'm going around looking for clients, a customer comes and says, "Oh, 3,200. Okay, fine. I'll buy this phone at 3,200. But have you accounted for VAT?" And you think, no, I didn't account for value added tax. Then they explain to you, because they're from ZRA, they explain to you the importance of VAT and how ZRA is going to follow you and pounce on you if you don't remit the value added tax for whatever you sell. And you get scared and you think, okay, I need to add my tax. How much is value added tax? Okay, in Zambia, our value added tax is what? 16%. Okay. So now if I'm going to give 16% to government, how much am I giving them? So we say is equal to 16%, which is value times 3. So it means I'm from when I saw the phone at 3 to I'm giving government how much? Let me just label this. I'm giving government how much? 512 kwacha. 512 kwacha. So it means, in actual sense, when I subtract this 512 kwacha, it means I'll only earn 2,600, 800 from this phone. But it means I won't be able to sort out what issues I had. And me, I need the whole 2.8. So I cancel that deal and say, no, I can't get this because of ZRA. Let me go and reevaluate my price. So you come back. And now you're thinking, okay, now that I know uh, that there's VAT included, let me maybe try and increase the price a little bit so that I can account for VAT. So maybe you say, I'll increase my price. Okay, let me increase maybe to 4,000, right? And then you think now, if I want a certain amount and I account for VAT, how much would I want to sell the phone for? Okay, let's take back that formula we put. We'll say this times this, 4,000. Then we say this plus this. So sell price. Okay, so it means for me to get 4,000 kwacha, I will need to sell my phone at 4,640 kwacha. So that when I give the government their 640, I'll remain with my 4,000 kwacha. That's straightforward. Now, suppose you're not able to calculate like this and you wanted Excel to say, okay, what about if I just want maybe 3,500? How much VAT will it be? So quite right, yes. If you have, if you have as simple as it is like this, you can just change and it will make sense. But you can also do the same thing with GOSIC. We'll see the value of it when we apply it on our example here. So you go here on data on top here, then you go on what if analysis. What if analysis is an analysis that gives you solutions to your question of what if. For example, I say, what if I select at this? What will I have? So there are three options under what if. There's a scenario manager where you can create different scenarios and it will give you an outcome based on the scenario that you've created. And the data table does that scenario manager function in a table for you to see that if I put that 4 pin, I'll get this. If I put that 5 pin, I'll get this, and so on. But for today, we're interested in what? In GOSIC. So you go to GOSIC. So here on GOSIC, there's set sale to value by changing. So all I'm telling it is set sale. Which sale should I set? So if I want to set the price of the phone to 35, you see? So I'll say set sale uh, phone. You click the cell where the phone is to value. What value do you want to set it to? I want to set it to 35. By changing what? Suppose now I say, okay, let me manipulate the percentage if it wasn't fixed. So what percentage of 4,000 is going to give me 35? By changing maybe the percentage. I'll click on this cell. So you're saying set 4,000 to 35 by changing the percentage. And you say, oh, sorry, uh, by changing the sale value. I'll explain why that didn't work shortly. And you say, okay. So it has changed to negative 500 to have this percentage. Okay, so maybe that example was a bit confusing. Let's try and have an application for us to understand. Here's a person who owns a bakery and they sell pies. Let's go with pies. They sell pies, Pies. And they have the price of pies. Maybe the price of pies is 10 kwacha. Now they're just doing hypothetical. We say 10 kwacha are my pies. How many pies do I want to make? I want to make 50 pies. Okay, so uh, if I sell 50 pies at 10 kwacha, my total revenue is 500 kwacha. But I need to transport those pies somewhere. So the transport cost I'm willing to spend is maybe 10% of the revenue value, which is 50 kwacha. But remember, I also have fixed costs. Maybe I'm going to rent the stove or I'm going to rent the place where I'll be baking from. That's a fixed cost because whether I make the pie, I don't bake the pie, I'm renting the building and I'll have to use it. So maybe rent is 1,000 and I say enter. So my profit is negative 550, meaning I'll make a loss. Why? Because my total revenue is less than my fixed cost. I mean, it's less than my total cost. So it means I'll have more expenses than money. So how do I break even? Or how many pies do I have to sell, for instance, for me to make nothing? To just break even, for my cost to be equal to my losses, my revenue. So you can use GoSeek to actually achieve this. How? You go to What If, you go to GoSeek, and you say set sale. Which sale do you want to set? Profit sale here. I want to set my profit at 0 because if my profit is at 0, it means the amount of money that I've spent to bake the pies is equal to the amount of revenue that I've gained. By changing what? What do I want to change so that I should have 0? Maybe by changing the quantity. So that I should know how many pies I need to sell for me to have 0 profit. And I say, okay, you'll see that it's going to change the quantity and give me the quantity that I'm looking for. And I say, okay. So you see, it has changed everything. So it means I need to sell 111 pies for me to not make any profit at all. Wow, that's a lot of pies. Let me undo that. Suppose I say, okay, but I only have 50 pies and I can't make that much. Maybe let me try changing the price. But how much do I need to set the price for me to just break even? You can do the same to say set profit to 0 by changing the price. And we say, okay. So it's saying it has changed the price. So it means I need to I need to sell my pies at 22 kwacha, 22 ngwe each for me to make 0. So that is how GoSeek quickly calculates for you. Now, remember the first time when I tried to use GoSeek, it refused. Why? Is because GoSeek only works in a cell if you're trying to find data in a cell which has a formula. Because you see, all these things for us to get them, we are putting in formulas. So if there's no formula, if it's just 22, it's difficult for it to compute because it can't give you, like let's say I wanted it to set for me a price. It can't give me the price because it doesn't know what factors make up the price. Why? Because I haven't put formulas. But here where the formulas, it knows what factors make up profit. These factors are total revenue less total cost. Even total cost has a formula, so we can compute for total cost anything we want. Why? Because total cost has factors which make it, which is what? Our fixed costs added together. So GoSeek only works for you to find something which is in a cell where you have put a formula. That's how it works. So like total revenue here can also be used if you want to uh, check on something with total revenue, because total revenue has got factors which make up what total revenue is. And these factors are what? Price and quantity. So this is basically how GOSIC works. Let me quickly look at if there are any questions, I'll respond to them and we shall move on. Just a disclaimer, we hope we don't have power where we are, and for some reason my laptop today has drained faster than normal. I hope it will sustain us the end of class, or class will come, or power will come earlier. Whatever the case, if we get a notification, we'll advise on the way forward. So let me look at some questions, then we can move on to the next thing. Okay, there are no questions. People are just asking about the recording of this presentation. Yes, we shall endeavor to actually have it recorded. So, are there any questions on GOSIC? If there are no questions, people just type, two people to just type no, and we can move on. I have one no. I have no. I'll get one more no, and we'll move on. Okay, I have my three no's, four no's, and they keep coming. Thank you, meaning that's clear. Thank you, Nyambe, Alinedi, David, and Chisomo. So these were our more friendly functions that we used. Okay, there's no more question. Oh, Christopher says wait. Yes, Christopher, you can type your question. Can you use GOSIC on text? No, Christopher, you cannot use GOSIC on text. You can only use GOSIC on numbers because it gives you computations and calculations. Remember, I said GOSIC cannot work where there are no formulas, as we saw earlier on. So in text, you cannot put formulas to say this name times this name to give you a product. So you cannot use GOSIC on text. It's only used for numerical computations. Okay, I believe that was the last question. Let's move over now to if. So last time we looked at if, but when we got feedback, there were so many requests of people for us to look at if and Vlookup. So I shall quickly, slow but steady, run through them, and we'll see how to use the if function. Last check for any question. Oh, okay. They have two questions. Brian says, how do you know when to use GOSIC? Well, Brian, it's really up to you to know when to use GOSIC if you're trying to compute a value that you need assistance with. Let me give you a practical example. If we go back to our example here, let me set things back to just know maybe 10 kwacha. Yes. So if we go back to our example here, and maybe I have 46, let me put some weird numbers which will be difficult to just quickly compute. So we have 46 pies. Our price is 10 kwacha. It's showing us that the profit is negative 586, which is a loss. And then find out, okay, how much should I price this price for me to just break even? With now, imagine we don't know about GOSIC and we don't have GOSIC in our life. So how can we find this? We can find this by what we call auto search, try and error. So I'll go on price, I'll say, maybe I put my price at 100 kwacha. Oh, 100 kwacha, our profit has exceeded. Me, I want this profit to be zero. Oh, I want to make a profit of 100 kwacha. Okay, let's go with zero. So if I put 100 kwacha for price, it has exceeded. Let's try maybe 22 pies. I'm still in a loss, but closer. Maybe 25 pies. 25 pies, I'll make a profit. I just want zero to know my zero. Maybe 23 pies. 23 pies, I'll make a loss. Maybe 24. Okay, 24 is closer to zero. You see? So you have to auto search. Now, when you're using, it's easy for us to quickly find this because we're using small numbers. Now, if you're using percentages and larger numbers, it would, especially percentages, it would take you long for you to start thinking how much percent, 2%, maybe 6%, like we're doing auto search here. Or if it's quantity, our pie is at 24 kwacha, and we want to make a profit of 1,000 profit. How many pies do we have to make? We'll start saying, okay, maybe 100 pies, 100 pies makes 1,000. Okay, I want 1,000 flat. So let me reduce 600 maybe to 96 pies. Okay, I'm almost there. Maybe 95 pies, still not 95, 93, almost there, 92. Okay, so maybe 93 is the closest. You see, you have to do try and error for you to find this. But with GoSeek, all you do is give it what you're trying to find by auto search to say, set this profit to 5,000 by changing the quantity. Tell me how many pies I need to bake at 24 quarter to make 5,000 profit. And I say, okay. And to tell me I need to make 277 pies. Case closed. So that's how you know when to use GoSeek. Oh, Christopher Mbey, what about if the formula involves the what if text? I don't understand what you mean by the what if text. Maybe you can clarify, Christopher. For example, if the score is 50, then text formula should be pass. Doesn't doesn't that apply to use GOSIC? Christopher, GOSIC, I hope from the previous example I explained, you had maybe a clear understanding of how GOSIC is. So if the score is 50 and the text formula should be pass, you can use GOSIC on the 50 if the 50 is composed of a formula. Maybe for you to make 50, maybe you added three numbers, maybe 25, 25, 20, and 5, then it made you 50. You can use GOSIC to say, maybe to change something else. But you cannot use GOSIC on the weight pass. You cannot use GOSIC on uh, on text. Yeah, I guess that's clear. If it's not, feel free to ask a follow-up. So let's move over to what if analysis. Okay, my battery is still showing me that I'm still alive. That's good to go. If analysis. Like I mentioned earlier on, we looked at if last time, but we shall look at it again so that you can understand. Let me just check on Christopher. Okay, nothing from Christopher. We can proceed. If is a dynamic formula that just helps you, I think maybe closer to what Christopher is asking, it helps you set conditions. So it's a conditional formula that helps you satisfy or give you or retain a value based on the condition that you give it. Let's take a practical example. I have a list of names here. I have some people, boys and girls, Mike, James, Peter, etc. And I have their date of birth. Mike was born in 92, James in 95, and so on and so forth. Suppose it's a very long list. And now from this list, I'm told, oh, from this list, we just want everyone who was born after 1996. So whoever was born after 1996, suppose maybe it's an application for a job. Yeah, let me say it's application for a job. So whoever was born after 1996, they're too young for that job. We don't want those people. Whoever was born before 1996, we can interview them because they're old enough to undertake this job. So 1996 becomes our more like our mark to see which people to remove from this list and which one to put. So if we do that manually, I would start. Mike was born in 1992. I would say interview because he meets the criteria. James was born in 1995. Interview. Peter, interview. I'll go on. Oh, Simon, 1992. I would say maybe reject because he's too young. Simon is too young. John 1998, I would say reject, and I'll go down the list putting in the status just like that because they don't meet the threshold. So the if analysis helps you do that in a faster way by setting the conditions. So for example, I can use the if function to tell me to say that if this age is less than 1996, interview. But if it's above 1996, I want you to uh, reject. I can use the if function to set that and it will give me in a click of a button. How do you do that? We say is equal to, we type if, open the brackets, it's asking us logical test. So what's my logical test? My logical test is 1996 is, oh, sorry, my logical test is this cell here should be greater than, sorry, should be less than 1996. That's my logical test. So this cell should be less than 1996. So here we have 1992, so it should be less than 1996. We say comma. What value should I give you if this is true? If whatever is in this cell is less than 1996, what value should I give you? Me, I would say, okay, if it's less than 1996, I would say interview because they are odd enough, comma. What about if it's false? What about if they're above 1996? What should we do? If they're above 1996, we should reject them. I'll type reject like that and I'll close my brackets. So what we're saying is if any age in here is less than 1996, we shall interview. If it's greater than 1996, it means they are young. We shall reject. We have put the if formula and we say enter. So you see, 1992 is less than 1996. So we are going to interview. And if I double click this, in a click of a button, it has done that for me. So imagine this list was long. It will give me the list of everyone. This one interview, Peter interview, Simon reject, John reject, Jacob interview, Noah reject, and so on and so forth, just by putting the if function. So you say if you give it the logical test, this number should be less than 1992. If the value is true, what should I give you? Give me interview. If the value is false, what should I give you? Give me reject. And it has given us. That's how the if function works. Let me quickly check if there's any question. Then we'll look at an application on how to use the if function and maybe we'll understand it further. Kindly zoom, sorry, I shall zoom. Okay, no question. Let's look at a quick application of the if function. So, same example as I used last time. We have this class of students. How many of these? We have this class of 94 students. My class is a big class. That's got 94 students. And we have their results in English, maths, RE, science, history. So what we do is we add their results to see who meets the cutoff point. So at our school, we only want intelligent people. So we only want, so this was a grade 9 exam, by the way. So we want to see those who should come back in grade 10 to this school. Whoever meets 400, whoever gets 400 and above marks, they can come back to our school because they're intelligent. But whoever scores below 400, it means they're not intelligent. We don't want them to our school. Let them go somewhere else. We'll reject them. Or if not reject them, we'll say, don't call them. How do we do that? We have 96 students. We can't start looking one by one, say 256 is less than 400, don't call. Or say maybe, yeah, don't call. 335, don't call. And if it's above, you say call. We can't keep going down because there are too many students, 95. So now we can use the if function. So we can say is equal to if, comma, if, what's the logical test? What's our measure? We say whatever is in this cell should be greater than what? 400. So it means greater than 400 is our logical test. Want anything greater than 400 is for anything above 400. Comma. If it's true that someone has scored above 400, what should we do? We can say, so we return them to our school. We can say return, meaning they return to this school. Comma. What if it's false, meaning what if they get less than 400? What can we do? It means we can say maybe send away because we don't want them to our school. Like that. So if someone scores less than 400, we send away. If they score above 400, we retain them because we want them. And close our brackets and we say enter. So you see, Cynthia scored less, so we send away. And when I fill this formula, it has given me everyone who we are sending away and everyone who we are retaining. So you can see these are sending away. Who's this? This is Agnes we are retaining. Alexander we're retaining, and we can make our decisions faster by doing this. That is basically how we use the if function. Any question on the if function? Okay. Well explained, sir. Thank you, Charles. Nyambe says, I'm behind on how you add such symbols greater than. Okay, I'll come back. Is the greater or equal to sign? I think it means is there a greater or equal to sign? Okay, I'll come to that. You're not zooming. Sorry about that, Susanna. I mean, do we have a symbol for greater or less than? Clear. So nice. Reminds me of case when statements is in think this is a SQL database. Okay, let's start from how do you add such symbols greater than, less than. So let me zoom in first. Sorry about that. Hope this is enough. So on the keyboard of your computer, next to the shift sign, there's this full stop. When you're typing, we use a full stop and comma. On top of that full stop or comma, there are those signs. I'm sure I remember our high school mathematics of how the greater than sign looks like. This was greater than, uh, I'll put it different. This was less than, and this was is equal to. I'm sure you remember. If you don't remember how to these signs, or if they confuse you like they used to, I actually stopped confusing them in grade 9 because of the very good math teacher who taught us how to do them. He said most of us are right-handed, right? So if you're right-handed, which hand has good power? Your right hand. So when you do your right hand, like when you do your math of your right hand, that shape you make, meaning you've got a lot of mass, so that's greater than. The left hand is weaker. So if you use the left hand, there's less power. So that's less than. So if you're confusing the two, just do your hands. Where there's power is greater than. Where there's no power is less than. And that's how I mastered the signs. So you just go to your keyboard on top of full stop and comma, you find greater than, equal to, you know what it is. Okay. Next question. Is the greater or equal to sign? Or I think it means is there greater than or equal to? Yes, it's there. So let's go to our sheet. Let's say, so if you want to do greater than or equal to, you just put the greater than like that. You put both signs in. This means greater than or equal to. So if I change this, I say greater than 400. Okay, let me first look for a 400 so that we can see what's going to happen. Did anyone get 400? Let's see. Okay, for the sake of learning, I'll just manually change this one to 400. Have you seen this one, 400? It's saying send away, right? But this person got 400. Why are we sending them away? Why? Because we just said greater than. So we want 401 going up. But to say, okay, even those that got 400, at least they made it. Paka Pompelo. Let's get them. So we want greater or equal to 400. So our same formula on top here, we add the equal sign. Like I showed you, this is greater or equal to. And we say enter. It has now changed to what? Retain. Because it's now what? Greater or equal to. Same thing with less than. If we change to less than, it will be the same thing. You're going to say less than or equal to, and you say enter. And it will give us our value. So that's how you do the greater or equal to sign. Hope that's clear. I mean, do we have a symbol for, okay, Johnny? Be good. Yeah, we have the symbol. That's that. Okay, I guess that's clear. So basically, that is how we use the if function. Now, if function can be used dynamically. You can do calculations within the if function. Like if it's less than 400, you add 10, you subtract 10. You can do all those, but we're not going into details with that. So basically, that's the if function. Let's check if there's a question. No question. Thank you. We shall move over to Vlookup. Our Vlookup function. Vlookup stands for vertical lookup. So you are looking up a value vertically. Remember, there's horizontal, which is going this direction, which I'm highlighting. Let me zoom. I hope this is zoomed enough. Horizontal and vertical is coming down. If you remember, X and Y axis was vertical and horizontal. So VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup. So what does VLOOKUP do? VLOOKUP just helps us find a value within a certain range that we tell it to look for and retain a corresponding value. So I have this data set of employees at my company. So this company has got these employees, Mutale Chanda, Mwansa Ngambi, Anchile Shemwewa, and so on. I have their department, I have their job title, and I have their salaries. So, and I have the employee number. So now I have so many employees. And if I want to find out, maybe say, who is employee E004, I want it to give me maybe the name. How can I do that? If the data set is big, I'll start looking for E004, they start looking for name. But with VLOOKUP, let me do it down here so that you can see. So with VLOOKUP, I can give it a lookup value which is the employee number in this case, and tell it to give me the corresponding maybe name, department, or job title, whatever information you want. How do we do this? We say is equal to v lookup, comma, lookup value. What lookup value do we want? Okay, sorry. Let's get name for now. So let's get their names. So we say is equal to, against name we go is equal to v lookup. What lookup value do we want? We want whatever we're going to put in this cell is want to look up, comma, where should I look for this value? I want you to look for this value in this table. We give the table there. So look up this value in this table, comma, when I check this table, which column are you looking for? I'm looking for the name. The name is in column what? Number, it's in column 2, because column 1 is this one, column 2 is this one. So you say comma 2, because it's in column 2. Okay, after I find it in column 2, should I give you an approximate match of your lookup value or the exact match? Employee numbers are unique. So I want the exact match. And exact match is what? False. So I'll type false for the exact match. So all I've said is look up what I'll put in this value. Where should I look for it? Look for it in this table. After looking for it in this table, what should I give you? Give me the corresponding name. Where does the name fall? It falls in this column. This column is number what from the end? It's number 2 from the starting of the table. So this is column 1, this is column 2. And what should I give you? Give me the exact match, which is false. And we say enter. So you see, it says not applicable. It says not applicable because here our lookup value have put nothing. But if we put, let's say, E006, we want to know who E006 is. And we say enter. The name has changed, has given us Lusongo Tembo. So if we go to our E006, we'll see Lusongo Tembo. So suppose I say, no, not E006. I want E001 because on my screen right now, I can't see E001. Who is E001? So I'll type E001, enter. Oh, it's Mutale Chanda. Let us confirm. We go to E001 here, and the name is Mutale Chanda. So that's how you look up values in a table. You put the lookup value, you set the table where you want to look up or the range where you want to look up, you give it the corresponding column to give you, and you give it the exact match or an approximate match. Suppose you wanted to get the department. We'll do the same by say v lookup E001 in this same table, comma, now I want department. It's in which column? 1, 2, it's in column 3. So comma 3, comma, I want the exact match, so I'll type false like that, and I'll say enter. And we have sales. So let's see if Mutale Chanda is in sales. You go Mutale Chanda, sales. So if I change my lookup value here, because we've put VLOOKUP for this, both of them have to change. So if I put maybe A007 and you say enter, you see it has changed. Now we have Chandapiri who's in IT, which is Chandapiri who's in IT. So that is how you use the VLOOKUP formula. Let me check for questions before I proceed. Okay, there are no questions. Let us look at an application and maybe after looking at the application, Christopher says wait. Yes, Christopher. We are waiting for you as we look at the application. Okay, so can I use VLOOKUP using different sheets? Good question, Christopher. I shall answer your question in the application. This is a great explanation. I need to tell me thank you for that, Johnny. Susanna, anything wrong with just highlighting the name column only instead of the whole table? Highlighting the name column only defeats the whole purpose, Susanna. Let me show you how. Okay, let me not show you using this example. So, Susanna, your question will also be answered in the next example. Why there's something wrong with just highlighting the column alone instead of the whole table. Nyambe says, why does it seem like you were looking for something that you already knew? Why does it seem like you were looking for something that you already knew where to find it? Okay, Nyambe, the reason is because I just used a very simple example just to explain the concept of VLOOKUP. But now that we have explained the concept of VLOOKUP, let's look at the application, and it will also answer a question of why it seems like we're looking for something that you already knew. And I want you, Nyambe, to tell me if you already know what to be looking for in the next example. Okay, Nyambe? The next one is yours. So remember our if application where this class of 94 students will use the same data set, but now suppose we just get the same students, their names and their results maybe in just one grade, maybe mathematics, right? Here we had compiled them when using the if, but now that we have the raw data, right? And we have their grades. So this right here is our key. So A plus, this is a mark. A alone is this a mark. B plus, let me zoom in so that you can see. At least I didn't forget this time. A plus is the mark is 70 75, I mean 75 to 100. A is 70 to 74, B plus 65, and so on and so forth. And these values are named. We have upper distinction for A plus, distinction for A, upper merit for B plus, distinction for merit, and so on and so forth. So after entering the grades, we've entered their grades, I mean the results and their grades according to the corresponding result. So like Cynthia had 29, which is below 50, which is an F. But now what we want is we want these names to correspond to this, right? So we have this whole data set of 92 students. So tell me, Nyambe, now, we have 92 students and we have to insert all this. Yes, you said here we knew what we're looking for. So why were we looking for it? So now in this second example, we know that anyone below 50 is F, right? So why should we still use VLOOKUP here? We have 92. So are you going to go entering, looking now, you say 29 or F? What's F? You write the word fail. 59 is C plus. You go, what is C plus? Upper credit. You write upper credit. I want you to tell me which one will be easier for you, Nyam. You write upper credit. Uh, Gabriel at 70, what's 70? Distinction, you write distinction, and you go all the way down until you reach 95 students. When are you going to finish? When? But with VLOOKUP, you can do that with a click of a button. Is equal to VLOOKUP. What's our lookup value? We're looking up this F, comma. Where are we looking for this F? In this table, comma. Sorry, let me just fix the table. We're looking for in this table, comma. What do you want us to give us? I want us to give us the name. What column is it? It's in column 2, comma, 2, comma. I want the exact match, false. Enter. So we can see that this one has failed. And now just by clicking down here, it has given me the grades for all the 92 students that I have in class without having to enter them one by one. Now let's answer those questions. Starting with Brian. Can I have the outcome of VLOOKUP on a separate sheet and can I do it instead of looking one by one? Oh, sorry, before that, we say someone had another question. Can I use VLOOKUP on different sheets? Not only can you use VLOOKUP on different sheets, you can use VLOOKUP on different workbooks. Here's an example. I only put these next to each other so that you guys can understand, but let me remove this. I have deleted this. So if you go down here, you can see I have two workbooks open. I have this data set open, and I've in a different workbook altogether, book 1, I have my grade. This is a different workbook. As you can see on top here, it's book one. Here, this is a different workbook. Not just sheet, but different workbook. And I'm sure you can still do VLOOKUP even if your data or your table is in a different workbook. So you can still say is equal to VLOOKUP. What's my lookup value? It remains F, comma. Which table am I looking up data? Now the table is not in this workbook. So I'll go down here. I'll go to book one, a different workbook, and I'll select my range, comma. Which column? Column 2, comma, false. And we say enter. So you see, it has still given us what we wanted, but what we're looking up is in a different workbook. It's in here, book one, not even the same workbook. So it can still work. And to show you that whatever you change here, suppose I say no. So A will be no. If we go here, automatically you've seen, in real time, it has changed to no. But this was a different workbook. Whatever information I change here changes automatically because it's referencing this in a whole different workbook. So you can change workbooks, you can change worksheets. Is it possible to use VLOOKUP to compare two Excel sheets? Stefan, I think I'm answering this one. Nyamba has given up. Thank you. Is the name in column 2 not 1? So how you name the columns like this? When I'm saying lookup in this range, this one automatically becomes column 1. So this is where I'm looking up this. But you wanted to give you what? You wanted to give you this answer. This answer is in which column? If this is 1, this is in column 2. This is why it falls in column 2 and not column 1. Mike, I got VLOOKUP. Cheers, Brian. I get it now. That's good, Brian. I'm dropping for another meeting. Please share presentation. Ernest. Okay, I think all VLOOKUP questions have been answered. Okay, unless Christopher wants to say wait, we can move over to the next one. Christopher, should we wait or should we move on? Okay, the battery says we still have some battery power. So let's move on to our last one, which is now pivot tables. Christopher, no wait. Okay, Christopher, thank you so much. We shall proceed. So I hope we've got the gist of how to use all these applications. Now we look at a pivot table. What is a pivot table? A pivot table is just a table that summarizes your data for you. It's that simple. It's mostly used for data analysis or for you to make your data easier to read, which is also a form of analysis. Simple example. I own a shop somewhere or a canteen and I sell different products. But because I want to be a good shop owner, I do, people who write things they sell in the shop. So every time I sell an apple, I'll write apple, I'll write how many apples I've sold, how much it is, and the price. So that at the end of the day, I can balance to see how much I've sold and I want to calculate my profit because I'm a good businessman. So today, this is what I wrote. I wrote apples, but apples, I have different apples. Maybe I have red apples and I have green apples. So I'll say apples. What type of apples? I'll write red apples. How many? 125. Soft drinks, I have many soft drinks, Fanta, Coke, Sprite, and so on. So if I sell a drink, I write soft drink. Description, Fanta. How many did I sell? I sold 5. How much? This times this, what's the price? And I have that table. So I have all this table. And at the end of the day, I sold 2,139, which was a good day for sales. Okay, move on, please. Thank you, Christoph. Good day for sales. So now having this data like this, like I mentioned, this is a simple example for us to understand. But if I own a wholesale like those Somalians or Mwenyes we see in shops who've got long queues, or imagine I'm Young Pharaohs, you see the queues which we find in Young Pharaohs. Young Pharaohs cannot sell such a short list in a day. The list is going to be so long that you cannot just start counting how many red apples. So red apples, okay, here I sold, here I sold. You need to analyze it somehow. How can you do that? You can use a pivot table. So a pivot table, like I mentioned, just summarizes this data and gives you a quick analysis or quick values based on what you're looking for. So to do that, you go here on insert. What are we inserting? We're inserting a pivot table. It's asking us which data or which range, which data do we want to be on the table or do you want to analyze? So I'll click this the whole entire table from item all the way up to rice. I'll leave my total out, I'll explain later. So this is what I've sold. So this is the table that I want. When I come here, it will say choose where you want your pivot table to be placed. So if you want, you can place your pivot table just here next to this, or if I want, I can place my pivot table in a new worksheet. So let me place it here for the sake of us just seeing the data side by side. So I'll place it here. Okay, I think for us to have a clearer view, we'll be doing back and forth the data. Let me place my data on a different sheet altogether because I need to zoom in so that you guys can see. If I zoom in here, it will disappear. So you go on insert pivot table. I'll click on new worksheet and I'll say okay. So it has opened a new sheet and this is how the pivot table looks like. Now it's just a blank. So here where it says pivot table, this is where the data from a pivot table is going to be. Here we have all our items. Remember in our sample data, here's our header. We had item, description, quantity, unit price, and total price, and things under them. Look at our pivot table. Here are our headers: item, description, quantity, unit price, and total price. So just by ticking one item, it will give me what I want to see. So suppose this is too much data, and I just want to see less data. Sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. So on the left of pivot table, we have the items, the item, description, quantity, total price, and so on. So if I click on item, you see that where there was space for pivot table here, all my items have been summarized and have been displayed. So I want you to notice one thing. If we go to our data here, on items we have apples, we have apples, we have apples, we have apples, and we have apples. Now you see that it has grouped everything just to give us one of each because we want to summarize our data rather than seeing all the times the number of apples applies. It has just given us a summary of one item each. So you can see apples, bread, this is everything we've sold. Now, description. I can either click on item, it will open, or I can drag this item. Here down here, we have rows, columns, values, and filters. This is where you place what you want to be displayed and where you want to be displayed. So if I get item and place it on rows, it's going to place all my items in rows like this, going down. If I get the same items and move it to columns, you've seen now it's display my data in columns going this way. So you choose how you want to see your data. If you want to see rows, if you want to see columns. So for me, I want to see rows because it's easier, right? Now, we don't want to know the quantities. Remember, we had quantities, we had total price. So 25, here we sold 25 quarter apples. Next apples here we sold 50, but we want to know how much apples we have sold today. So I can go on total price and put it on values. So it has showed us that today we have sold apples with 430. So it has quickly added all the apples that we have sold and given us our value. So this is how much we've sold. Bread, all the breads it has sold. Just with a click of a button. Without the pivot table, we're going to start adding to say apples, we add 25 plus when the next apples plus 50 plus 25 and so on. But the pivot table, all we click is apples, total price, give me. If we wanted to see quantity, how many apples have we sold today? I can get quantity and take it there. So we've seen that we have sold 15 apples. Just by looking at the pivot table and putting it here, it has shown us we have sold how many? 15 apples, right? This looks a bit too simple, right? So why do we need the pivot table if we can just do plus? The reason is it to give us data quickly, and in addition to that, remember, apples, we had red apples, we also had green apples. What about if we want to know how many green apples, we want to separate the apples? Yes, we know from this, from the price that we've sold 430 worth of apples. But we want to know from this 430, how many green apples did you sell? Or how many are red apples? So you can go to our description. You can add more than one field in any of these. So if I go to description and I put columns here, it has put all the description in columns. Okay, let me not put color. Okay, I hope you can see. So in apples, you've seen there's green apples now, there's red apples. So green apples we sold 180. Let me zoom in maybe. Green apples we sold 180, red apples we sold 250. It has separated them. I can alternatively put this on rows like that, and I can see to say apples we sold 430. Of those 430, the green apples were 180, the red apples were 250. So this is how basically you can just move around data to give you quick data for you to be able to see and analyze. Pivot table is one of the most powerful tools because there are so many options that you can choose to give you data quickly. So we'll look at more options, I'm sure, in the application. But before I go to the application, maybe some people have remained behind, or maybe someone has got questions. Let's look at some questions and we'll go back to we'll go to application and get a deeper understanding. Can you try and analyze the grade 9 result using the pivot table? That's a good idea, Christopher. We shall try to do that. That's a good idea. We shall do that. Any question before we go to the application of a pivot table? Anyone? Why is the grand total different from the one in the data source? Let us check that. Why is the grand total adding this different from the one in the data source? Okay, let us do auto sum for the data source and you say enter. We check. It's the same. Here, this was entered manually and I'm sure something was adjusted. That's why you see, if I adjust something here, maybe I put 100, nothing will change. So probably when entering, it was done manually, it was an error. But if we use the formula, we say auto sum. As you can see, if I put this is 2030.5, just like this, 2030.5. Good observation, Chivanda. I hope that answers your question. Another thing before we go to application. So even if I change anything here, we expect our pivot table to update, right? So let's try and change and see if our pivot table is going to update. So suppose I made a mistake on Nakonde rice. I didn't sell 1, instead I sold 10 Nakonde rice, right? Meaning this, okay, I didn't put formula, so that's why it's not updating. Meaning this would be 1,200. So we expect this to be 3,110, right? So our pivot table has to give us 3,110. So when I go to a pivot table, it's still showing us the same 2030. Why? The reason is because we have not updated our pivot table. So people make changes all the time. So pivot table updating, you can either update it in real time or it allows you to make all the changes that you want and update at a go. So when you're done and you click on the pivot table, you go here on pivot analyze, you can say refresh. It's refreshing. Let it just finish loading. I don't know why it's taking so. Okay, it has refreshed. So now it has refreshed our data to match what is in the pivot table. So you can always change this data anytime and still go back and the pivot table will update and the analysis will still be updated. We go to the application. Good to go pivot tables very helpful analyzing data from Power BI and other. Yes, especially with Power BI, pivot tables when you understand pivot tables, Power BI becomes easy for you to actually use. But another very powerful tool for data analysis, which gives you visuals. Application. So I had an example of my application. However, we shall not use my example. Why? Because Christopher says, can we use grade 9 results to use the pivot table? So Christopher has made us change our data set. We shall not use this application. We'll go back to our grade 9. I'm sure you means this one. We'll go back to this one to analyze our pivot table. Why? Because we have this data of 92 people. So can we use this? So what do? We highlight everything. Let's highlight even our decisions. And we say insert pivot table. Let's put it on a new sheet. This same data on a new sheet. Okay. So before we do this, I need to label the last column. It hasn't updated because I did not label. I'll say decision, because we need to know if we're sending away or not. Okay. So it's important for pivot tables to always have headers so that it can know what to choose from. New data. Okay, so now we have our decisions there. So we have our grade 9 data. If I say full name, it has given us everyone's full name, right? Decision. Against each one's name, it has given us this one send away, this one retain, this one send away. So like this, it's not really meaningful, right? But suppose now what we wanted to know is, let me remove decision. Suppose what we wanted to know is, we have our data of 92 students, right? But we want to know, of these 92, how many are we going to send away? You know, so if we want to know how many we're going to send away and how many we're going to get back, their names don't matter. We just want to know the numbers of how many we're sending away, how many we're getting back. So we can go to our decision here and put it here. You see, we have return and we have send away. We want to know how many we're sending away, how many we're returning. I'll go on the same decision. You know, you can use the same header more than once. So I'll use the same decision and I'll put on values. And when I put on values, it's counting now how many times we have the word retain, how many times we have sent away. And from this, I can tell that we are going to send away 84 students from our 94 students, and we are only going to retain 10 students. From this, we know how many to send away, how many to take back. Let's look at the distinction part. Did we add, oh, this is a different table. It doesn't have the distinction part. Let us use this one as well. Full name, distinction, grade name. So let's try this one, which will give us a huge variety of analysis. So grade name, we have credit, distinction, merits, and upper merit, and so on. Now we want to know how many got distinctions, how many upper credits, how many lower credits, and so on. We can do the same, taking their values. So we've seen that 36 people failed, which is a high number. It shouldn't happen if you're a teacher. 1 had a distinction, 17 had an upper distinction. You're doing a good job after all as a teacher. You see, so just by putting in those fields there, we're able to see. And if we want to see now maybe how many got my A plus, we don't want the names, we can still get the grade and take it there. We remove this grade, we get the grade instead, and we can see the same thing now by looking at the grade itself. Say 1 had an A plus we had 17, B had 6, B plus had 18, C had 9, and so on and so forth. So like I mentioned, there are so many things you can do with a pivot table that this 1 hour 30 minutes that we have used today is not even enough to cover pivot tables alone, because it's so dynamic. You can change the design. If you don't like how it looks, you can put a purple one, you can put anything. This is just the formatting. On top of design, you have so many other options. You can put slicers. You can do additions to say, give me proportions. Suppose you want to see percentage, you want to see this in percentage form, right? You want to get rather than giving you the numbers, you want percentage. So you can do that. Say, you can do that. Show values as percentage of grant total. So now we've seen A only 1% got an A, B 19%. Just by clicking, it has given us percentages. So there are so much things you can do with a pivot table that this 1 hour 30 minutes is not enough. But basically, that is how you use pivot tables to analyze data. So I will encourage you to explore this, to experiment, and to see and learn more things you can learn from pivot tables. Let me see if there are a few questions because we're supposed to wind up at 20:30. Last time we exceeded time greatly, so today we'll try to stick on time. Okay, so we start from where? Can you try of that? Why is the grand total of answered Mike, of answered Susan hard to understand? It's because I don't know anything, not even an idea. What's unfortunate today, when you say you don't know anything, you mean anything about pivot tables or anything about Excel? So please clarify so that we can see how best to help you. Kindly share last session's video and this one. Okay, we endeavor to do that. Charles, sorry sir, what's Power BI? In a nutshell, Charles, Power BI is a visual analysis tool that helps us analyze data visually. A quick example of Power BI in Excel, it's not Excel though, just want to just give you an example. We have this data, right? If I insert, so I've put a graph here. Okay, so rice is inflating the figures. So for it to look nice, let me just okay. So you see now this data here, we're able to see it visually like this, right? Because we have used it to see, we've used that to make this bar chart. So just by looking, we've seen that there's a high bar which has gone to rice, which is that this is the highest selling, way higher than the other ones. So which is true because 1,400 and nothing is close to 500. So we have used a visual to analyze this data, right? So Power BI, which is way more advanced than Excel, analyze this data visually. You have a data set, the same way we have this data set, and you just click buttons and take there, and it will create for you these visuals where you're able to see by a line graph, by a bar chart, and so on. So if I can maybe this one I think is more data is better spread for you to see. Yeah. So you can see that data looks a bit good this one. So F is higher, more people at F. We're able to know what's happening just by looking at this video. So sometimes data presentation is easier when it's visual rather than looking at numbers, because sometimes when you're so tired you can't even remember if 7 is bigger than 17. But by looking, you can see that this one is taller than this one, and you can say, oh, okay, this is the highest number, and you can make decisions based on that. So Power BI is just a great tool for visual analysis, and it does so much things. And hopefully, maybe we'll do a training in Power BI as well. But it works better if you understand Excel and you understand data. Then Power BI will be your best friend. I can assure you. I use Power BI as well a lot for my presentation and for my data. So basically, that's what Power BI is. Charles, I have missed out on Vlookup because of network. Okay, Mandala will endeavor to share this. Share the link of the meeting. It's almost coming to an end. So can we also use your original application if time will allow? Unfortunately, time won't allow. We need to finish by 2030. Last time we exceeded greatly. But I'll share this data set and encourage you to use this data, to use the last cell here, which we didn't use. I'll remove the pivot tables. It says pivot table application. So I'll set for you some questions which I want you to analyze such that you understand. That will be your homework. I'll send you the data set as well to be your homework for you to practice pivot tables. Network is bad. We'll share the video. This is great, but I understand you're rushing because the battery. Please next time take us further on pivot tables. I need it more. Okay, Christopher. Pivot tables, we'll try and maybe have it. If I were to take you more in pivot tables, it means we'll have a training specifically for pivot tables alone. Because if you combine other functions, it will be in the training class for maybe 2 or 3 hours. So maybe we can just scratch the surface on pivot tables alone, meaning that 1 hour 30 minutes we're going to allocate, or allocate it to just pivot tables. Then you can understand more. But as long as we've got other functions, time cannot allow. Pivot tables are very dynamic. That I can assure you. You can do multiple computations just by clicking buttons. Are you sending recorded videos in a group or through individuals? Victor, admin is better suited to advice, but I'm very sure they'll reach out to you the same way they reached out to you here. I'm very sure they'll reach out to you. Charles, I'm forward to learning it. All right, Charles, please, you need to learn Power BI. Very important tool, very powerful tool. You can put a map there to show you figures based on geographical location, something that Excel struggles to do. It's very powerful. When you learn it, it's beautiful. You'll love it. Please share the presentation in the group for practice. Okay, Frank, I'll share the presentation. I'll share the data set because you've got homework in that data set. I said you got the pivot to the data set. The last column which says pivot table application, there's a sample data set. I'm going to give you some questions which I want you to answer on this data set using pivot tables. It will be good practice. It shall be shared. Hopefully, admin will share it tomorrow. This is helpful. Thank you so much. But for the beginner, I need more time. All right. So if you're a beginner, I think admin will advise, but I hear there'll be training coming up, which will encompass. I think it's a comprehensive training from beginner to somewhere advanced. I think admin will advise, but if you're a beginner, please look out for that one. Uh, it will take you through the basics of Excel, how Excel works. Because I understand if you don't know the basics of Excel, this is very confusing. So you'll be able to understand from the grassroots how Excel works, how how the formulas work, how to put basic formulas. Then now you can go into these a bit more complicated formulas. Then you can go to the VLOOKUPs, which are more complicated. So I'm aware that there's something coming up which will encompass everything. I don't know how it will be packaged, but I'm sure admin will reach out and just be on the lookout for that. A training in Power BI would be great. How do I access the app or software for Power BI? All right, Christopher. Oh, please, when we give you the feedback forms, you'll be able to tell us what you want, and based on what the majority are going to say, we will strongly consider maybe doing Power BI for people to understand. So it depends on what the majority say. Just like now, the majority from our feedback said they want us to do pivot tables. That's why we looked at pivot tables. I mean, VLOOKUP and if function. That's why we looked at them despite us looking at them from the beginning. Power BI is an open source, can download on the internet. Correct, Chibanda. You can download it. It's a free software. That's correct, Chibanda. Susan, I'm a beginner and it's confusing. Susan, like I mentioned, there's a package coming for you as a beginner, which will greatly benefit you. As a beginner, you'll be able to learn the basics of Excel, and I hope it will be packaged in a way that it will groom you all the way until you are at the pivot table level. And everything we've covered now is not even the Excel is so dynamic. We haven't even scratched the surface. There's a lot more to learn in Excel. And once you learn it, your job, your work becomes very easy to do because you'll be clicking buttons. What can take you an hour will take you maybe 10 seconds at the most. Like also, when you're putting the upper distinction, if you didn't know about these formulas, you are going to you're going to start entering one by one. Uh, 19, okay, it's below 50, fail. 25 below 50 fails. 65 is between this upper. You're going to do that, but because of that, within 2 seconds, within 10 seconds, you put and it will give you everything. Okay, the battery is giving up now. It's saying consider plugging. We're now on battery saver. Thank you so much for attending this class. I will just allow you guys to unmute and your microphones, and you have just 3 comments, then you can close. Anyone to give 3 comments before you close, you can unmute your mic and you can talk before the battery dies out. You can unmute your mic, anyone. Just 3 comments, then we can call it a night. Okay, good evening, Christopher. Thank you, Christopher. That's well noted. We endeavor to do that. 2 more people before we call it a night. Oh, good evening. Oh, Johnny, it's a female. Good evening, madam. Okay, so admin is better suited to advise when you have the next ones, but I'm sure you'll be reached out to, and just like you given email, you reached out to via email, we're able to reach out to you because they have your contact. So, but from what I know, it should be next week. Will be another training, but I'm sure they'll reach out to you and you'll be made aware of it. So don't miss it. Yeah. The last person, last comment before we say good night. Good evening, Lewis. Okay. After Lewis, we'll have sorry, Lewis, we'll have Shandy, then we'll close. I've seen the hand is up. Go ahead, Lewis. Thank you.